Hi, Bartman here. I've built a diesel-powered 28-volt DC generator for my home backup system, and I've been wanting to make a video for quite a while to post to show you what I have. I've been all over YouTube, and I haven't quite found anything like what I have, and I'll tell you something about it, and I hope you like it. What I have here is a Yanmar L100 air-cooled diesel rated at 10 horsepower. I bought it off Craigslist, and it was toast. It was run without oil. So I ended up putting a new crank in it, new rod, new piston. The bore was not damaged. Everything else was good. And through persistence on eBay, I found a crank for 1 cent from a new eBay seller because he didn't put a reserve on it. So it actually cost me like $16 shipped to the house. That's well over $200 crank. Everything I used is OEM. I do not like Chinese parts in my Yanmar generators. The generator here, or alternator, it's a 450 amp DC alternator at 28 volts, military rated, and I've pulled about 220 amps with this engine, which is everything it had. My system is rated for 200 amps, but the way I've got it designed, the battery will pick up any surge loads. I've got the engine running at 2750, which is the sweet spot for fuel consumption. And testing I did last year with a 1 kilowatt AC load, steady state, gave me a return of 6 hours per gallon of diesel. If something in the house came on, like the well, the battery system would take up the surge and carry it through, even though the alternator couldn't keep up. I have a deep C, 300 amp DC switch so I can disconnect the power. I have a key switch to start it. The toggle switch to the left energizes the field. And I don't know if you can see it right there, but that's a 3 amp fuse that I put in the line to the field exciting terminal. I don't want anything to fry my regulator. The speed is set. I've got it set at 2750. I have to manually turn the fuel on, turn it off. At some point I will automate that. There's an oil pressure switch here, which I will tie into a auto shutdown if the oil pressure gets low. The crankshaft in this engine, this came off a generator, so I put a generator crank back in it, and the straight part of the crank before it tapers was a standard dimension, so I put a bushed bore pulley on it so I could utilize the crank without switching it. The alternator also has a bush bore pulley, and at 2750 on the engine, I'm running just shy of 1500 RPM on the alternator, which will give me about 150 amps output. I use Anderson connectors so I can connect and disconnect it without fear of reversing the polarity. For purposes of the test here, I just have a small battery pack so I can start it and just show that it is putting out, although nowhere near what it's capable of, but it does illustrate that the unit does actually perform and put out as advertised. I've got a voltmeter here so we can monitor the output. One thing I did is I modified the fuel cap I sealed it up so it doesn't breathe, so it needs to breathe through this hose. So what I can do, I can connect this hose to an auxiliary tank of fuel, and as the fuel in this tank goes down, it draws fuel into here, so I can actually have an unlimited runtime without the need to worry about refueling it. The starter is a 24 volt starter because this is a 24 volt generator. I thought, well, that makes sense. It eliminates a charging system and a battery that would be needed to start this. So let me turn on my exhaust system here so I don't get gassed out, and we'll fire this up. Alright, I put on some earmuffs because this thing makes quite a lot of noise, at least to me. Fuel on. DC switch on. We can say it's now getting power. Start. Turn the generator on. You hear it loading down.